nephew and uncle basketball banter, joined once again by my uncle and coach David Scholler. Uncle Dave, what a wonderful slate of games we had today. Where would you like to start? We're gonna just jump right into this conference tournament play once again that we had today.
Just so much good basketball today. Princeton Yale game was great. Bryant ran away your uncle's alma mater there. So that's good to see them twice in the tournament in the last 4 years. But the Yale Princeton game was good. Cornell got out a little bit too much on Dartmouth, so tomorrow we'll get Yale and Cornell. So that was fun. Michigan State, Wisconsin was a great game. She's still a lot of teams, with such a
Yeah, you
reliance
had
on the
some
three.
you had some upsets today. You had Tennessee
Yeah,
taking down Auburn. You had Wisconsin,
yeah,
Michigan State.
yeah.
So had
And you also see a lot of crazy comebacks with there's so much swings in the last 5 or 6 years because the reliance on the three. There's so many swings. It's
yeah, and
it's frightening.
the 15-point lead is not safe even with like a
No,
couple
it's not.
4 or 5 minutes left now. It's
Yeah.
a lot
And
like
and
the
the
NBA game now.
and the shot clock only being 30 is totally different than even when it was 35, which
Yeah.
yeah, I remember when it was a minute 15 back in the old days.
Oh,
So
Jesus Christ. Thank God we're not in those days no more.
yeah, so but you could really stretch a game out in a minute 15. It was kind of crazy. So if you were up five at like 3 minutes left, that shit was over.
Well, with
So,
with the blue devil head on your head, Uncle Dave, I think it's right we start with Duke. I think we'll really dive into this game here. I mean, this is incredible, though. I mean, if you're Duke and you're a Duke fan, you're thinking you're a team of destiny here. You win essentially 3 games without Cooper Flag, and you win the
yeah.
ACC tournament. Now, with getting him, and where we'll see where they are in the bracket and everything, and what region they're playing in. I mean, you're over the moon right now. Everybody's got to have supreme level of confidence right now, and Duke is just a dangerous team. You have three guys in double figures. Con Knipple played well. Tyrese Proctor played well. Sion James played well. I mean, they 18, 19, 15. They were incredible. Turned the ball over only 10 times. 11 assists. You'd like to see more than that, but all
Sure.
in all, though, Duke played a really great game, though. 10 of 27 from three, good enough, because Louisville was 7 of 26, so it
Yeah.
didn't quite matter. And Duke got to the line a ton more, 24 free throw attempts to the Cardinals' 10.
Sure. It would just be nice if Therese Proctor could hit one.
Yes.
He missed five in a row coming back to last night. And you're
He was
like,
he was
Jesus
one of he
Christ,
was 1 of 5 tonight from the line. Yeah.
Yeah, like what the hell are you doing, bro?
The funny
Make
thing
a
is,
freaking free throw.
there are only three guys that, well, they have four guys that shot foul shots tonight. The rest of them only missed one between the other four.
Yeah.
Knipple hit all six of his. Sion James missed, he hit all seven of his, and Enigma went 5 of 6. So
Yeah.
the rest of the guys hitting their foul shots. Just Tyrese Proctor has the yips right now.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
So
So
obviously,
yeah, so that was a great game tonight. I'm just nervous because it's about again, people I've unfortunately there's so many seniors that gamble these days in high school. They're always like, "Oh, who you got?" I'm like, "You got to see the bracket because it really is about matchups."
it is.
And so like this, the real nut cutting time is next Saturday and Sunday because if you're sitting there and all of a sudden the 8-9 game, you see like some damn team that's really talented who's at the bottom of a major conference. I mean, I remember years where Duke would play Kansas and Duke would be a one seed and play Kansas in the 8-9 game, and you're sitting there going, "Holy crap!" It's even though that wasn't great Kansas teams, it still had some pros
Still,
on the damn
it's
team.
it's still it's still Kansas though, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's still Kirk Heinrichs on the damn team, and you're sitting there going, "Jesus Lord!" So
Yeah.
it's tough. It's next Saturday, Sunday is the real nut cutting time. The best day of the tournament's Thursday and Friday, but Saturday, Sunday is where the rubber hits the road. And that's when you get the best games. So Saturday, Sunday games every year, some 1-8, some 1-9 game is just hellacious. So I'll just be rooting for whoever does. I don't believe matches up with Duke to in our favor. So I won't care about that except for who I believe they match up with. So I'll be rooting on the other side of that bracket, just watching carefully. Like I look at it like this: if you're a Duke fan, Houston could bother you. St. John's could obviously bother you. Any ACC team could bother you because they've seen you so much. Obviously, Auburn can bother you. I really don't feel out for Alabama. If you're Duke, I just think they want to play into our hands and run up and down. Florida, I think, is so skilled. I think that they're a problem. Obviously, then you look at the coaches. Michigan State is the best transition team he's had in years. They're obviously a problem. So there's those kinds of teams that make you scared. Tennessee obviously physically can beat you up, but I still think that they don't score enough. So I wouldn't look at them the same as maybe some of these other, people do as far as like fear of playing them, but they're a really good team, played a really good game today. But again, they have those 5 minute droughts where they just don't score. And that's the difference. And it's even the same in high school basketball. You have teams that go in droughts, they're not the ones that win it all. It's the teams that get the easy baskets and have a bunch of different options that change that, you know. So it's kind of crazy, but I don't know. Uh, so many great games today. Then you saw the Maryland game was good. Michigan beat them pretty good. All of a sudden, the buzzer on a terrible play. It's a little inbound play where you let the little give and go going. It's a press offense that we run.
It's a great play to run at the end of the game when you're looking to
Yeah,
get downhill and could
it's a
score
great
quickly.
press offense. Everybody tries to take away the inbounder, but everybody forgets that he's cutting right up the middle of the floor.
It's a great play. And what you have to do
Yeah,
defensively, all you have to do is just make the guy change direction, and that's it.
yep,
That's really all you have to do.
yep,
You just can't let him have a straight line drive, and that's exactly what
yeah,
Maryland allowed there for Donaldson.
yeah. And then
And I will say this, still hits a tough shot. I mean, still
it
they hit
is, yeah,
an incredible
very
shot.
tough shot. And then Michigan State, like I said, loses. So Wisconsin and Michigan tomorrow will be good. It should be a good game. Houston then pulls away from Arizona late with a couple of tough buckets. That was an exciting game, flipping back and forth. St. John's and Creighton. Creighton, I guess they want to play fast, but if you want to run up and down with St. John's after playing an overtime game already in the tournament for the third day in a row, I think that was a mistake. And but about the 10-minute mark, this ran right out of gas. That game is tied. All of a sudden, they're getting blown out. And you're just playing that speed, and all of a sudden, Creighton did a great job in the first half on defense. All of a sudden, about the 10-minute mark, they didn't stop anybody on defense. And
The
St.
wheels
John's
fall off.
is
Yep.
that's not St. John's best forte is offense. So all of a sudden, like they just stopped guarding the ball, and St. John's got to the basket when in the first half they didn't go near the basket because Cole Crunner was really bothering him. The stud on the wing didn't step up for Creighton tonight, and
If you're Creighton, you're up
yep,
three at halftime, and then you get
yep.
outscored by 19 points in the second
Yeah,
half.
and the point, and you let Lewis go off for 27 in the second half. He's a great player, but he's not a 27-point
If St.
scorer.
John scores 80 on you, you're not going to win. There's no chance of
No,
winning.
they're a scary team because they're just going to get you in that tempo they want. So if you're not deep, you're not beating them. And if you're Creighton, I know you want to play fast, but I would have tried to slow that game down. Even in the first half, when it's going your way, you got to make sure you slow that game down. I know that's the way they want to play, but St. John's can only play that way. If you get St. John's in a half court game, you weaken them. But
How about St.
they
John's? The Red Storm with their first Big East title win since 2000. So it's been 25 years.
well,
Incredible.
Rick Pitino, not really a shock. So I've
Just
always
add it
said
to
he's
the resume.
one
That's a
of the
big.
best one of the best coaches of all time, without a doubt. And again, I've always said him and Belichick just have this endless energy. They're in their 70s
Yeah, it's
and they
incredible.
never get bored. And that's why I was surprised Nick Saban retired too, because they never get bored. Like, and the hardest part of coaching once you get past like 50 is your energy. That's the hardest part.
Right.
In my opinion, anyway. And I'm a pretty hyper person, but still, it's hard to
Especially
have that energy.
when you've won as much as he has. There's nothing left for him to prove.
Right. And so obviously he's got a different kind of motor, but not shocked. Plus, like I've said before, people text me going, "Is this a shock?" And I go, "Listen, dude, this is the way this guy's wanted to do it for 40 years with no rules, and
Yes.
now he's got it to where there's no rules. Yeah, if you could do some under the table funny things, I mean, now it's legal. There are no
Right.
rules anymore, and obviously that fits his way. So I'm happy for St. John's, happy for Coach Patino. He's one of the best of all time. When I did a podcast with the best coaches of all time. I'd like to, we could do that one again over the summer maybe and see what your spin is. Yeah, he's definitely in my top 3 or 4. So, in college anyway. So,
Hard to argue against him, it's for sure.
yeah, it's very hard to argue against him. You have to set the parameters of what makes a person a great coach, but obviously he's proven that already, no matter what hell parameter you use. So, I think he's the only guy to win a national title at 2 different Division I schools to start. So,
And I will say this:
pretty good.
you have a coach that's experienced being in the tournament too. I think that helps a lot. I think with preparing guys for how kind of the theatrics of everything in the media and everything like that. So I think him being so seasoned as a winning coach and winning national championships, it only helps his program and his team. I think heading into the NCAA tournament.
And the scary part is he had Clayton on his team in Iona. They were the
I
only
know.
team
How
that was
about that? Yes, people don't know that. How
and they
scary
were
would that
beating
have been?
they were beating Connecticut at the half in that game 2 years ago at Albany. I was at the game.
Yeah, Walton
They
J.
beat.
Billis was just basically saying he's like this guy's an NBA player.
Oh, he definitely is. He's just that.
At
And
the
today
bottom,
he made.
you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Darren Williams when he was at Illinois.
Yeah, this guy is a little bit more finesse, but this guy gave a guy the okey doke today where he started to pull the ball out and just went by him, and the kid was in the stance, but it didn't look like it.
Yeah,
Just
I
went
mean,
right by him.
he was doing every. He's hitting the three ball. He's throwing the alley oop passes. He's doing things where he's driving, and then he's coming off a pin down and hitting a three. I mean, he's just basically like you said, an overall seasoned player. This guy. I mean, look at his
Bad news
line.
though is
You look at his line
the
today. He's got no turnovers. He's got 6 assists, 22 points.
yep.
He gets both his free throws, and he's 6-11 from three. I mean, just played
Yeah.
a complete game.
Yeah.
Best player on the floor today. And by the way, in
Yeah. And
skills,
yeah, he's a freak, but as we talked about many times on here, it's a lot of luck in who you play for and who takes you. If you get a coach that doesn't, get the how to get the best out of you, that could be a disaster. I can give you hundreds of examples from guys in the NBA being traded from one place to another, where all of a sudden the coach didn't use them right, and then that happens. Kelly Tripucka is the best example.
yeah, I think that Florida, their depth, I think, is just incredible. They had 6 guys with
Yeah,
double figures today, and they can just
yeah,
win you out.
yeah,
They're a lot like a Houston. I tell you what, I like Florida and Houston in this tournament a lot to go very, very far because I think
yeah,
obviously now anything can happen in the tournament. It's March Madness for a reason. That's why it's called Madness. But I just think the way they play, they can control the tempo. They got good guards. They're just very seasoned. Like you said, the only thing that bothers you about Florida is their head coach is a little odd. So Kelvin Sampson, I have much more trust in. But
yeah.
you know what? They're they're
Well,
they're humming. They're playing it. All cylinders are clicking right now for the Gators. So I mean,
yeah,
they
we're gonna have to see if there's as many upsets this year with all this nil money just so far out in
yeah,
the
it's going
open
to be
now more
curious
than
to
ever.
see now because we have enough, I think, separation now between where this has been legal now, where it's going to take effect now. We're going to
Yeah.
really see what's the results now in the tournament.
Yeah, and then of course you get all these statistics about there's 6 teams that meet the requirements of uh of being in the top 23 in defense, being in the top 20 in defense and offense in the last 24 years that have won a national title. And so this year, the only ones that fit that are Auburn, Duke, Florida, Houston, Texas Tech, Arizona, and Clemson. It's weird because there are some teams missing from there that everybody
You
really
definitely
likes,
think you have a
which
shot. Exactly right. Yeah, it's going to be
right.
interesting
So
to
and
see.
so Alabama's missing from that, and you also see Tennessee missing from that. And those are probably the 9 teams, and people don't really consider Arizona or Texas Tech as a team that could
No,
win,
I
but
wouldn't. I wouldn't consider them a teams to win the national championship either.
but
I think it's a little
so
far,
they
but
they
if they
they
won it, I'd
fit
be
that.
shocked.
Yeah, they fit that requirement. So it's a little strange, but
Yep.
also
Always
heard a
room for
really
an
good one
outlier.
today that every team has had a first round draft pick on it since 1987 that won a national championship. So everybody always gets, well, we have a really nice team here of good role players, but I think about that. Since '87, every team's had one first round draft pick,
Yeah, the stud gets it.
national champ.
Yep.
So and sometimes you sit there and you say, well, chemistry, 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 and so like you think back to Northern Iowa beating Kansas with the two studs playing for Kansas, the brothers there who are still playing in the NBA, Morris brothers, but
Morris brothers. Yep.
those teams never go all the way to the national championship. They might have a game or two in them, like a Cornell team or a Northern Iowa team, but they run out of gas eventually. I guess they don't have that guy.
Yep.
So
BYU and Jimmer
it's
Fredette.
yeah, exactly. So it's first round picks that have reigned since '87, and
Loyola
yeah, interesting.
Chicago.
Interesting stat. But one thing I also was looking at, like I said last night to you, this crap with the net is just hysterical. So the net, and so which one is it? Is it the net? Is it quad one wins? Because I was looking today, and Texas hasn't won a quad two game. They're like 0-8 versus the quad two, and then Carolina's like 10-1 versus quad two. So only quad one matters. So that means Carolina doesn't really have any bad losses. That means Texas has 8 bad losses. So where does that come into play? So and I don't care if Carolina's out or not, but again, last 3 years ACC's got the best record of all the conferences. So again, this dynamic for the last 2 or 3 years has been that the ACC's weak. Well, I guarantee you right now, I know Louisville or Duke ain't losing in the first round. Clemson plays slow enough where I could see maybe someone catching them by surprise, but they're going to be 3-0 after Thursday and Friday the ACC. So and if Carolina gets in, I don't know. Carolina I think would win a first round game too, but and again, when's the last time an SEC team won a championship? So, the ultimate proof is in the pudding, and so ACC keeps putting teams in the Final Four. The Big Ten hasn't won a national championship since 1999, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's
Michigan
funny.
State's the last one. So, I mean, that's 25 years they haven't won a national championship. Obviously, that's a problem for them. And the ACC keeps putting teams in the Final Four, and you lead eight, and so you can bash them all you want. But when it comes down to it, ACC was
2000,
let's see,
Michigan State, 2000.
yeah, last year 12-5. ACC was the year before 7-5, the year before 14-5. So I mean, here we are. I mean, the Big East the last 2 years has had a good record because of UConn, but other than that, they didn't do anything. So if you think about it, Big Ten, 10-6, 6-8 in the last couple of years. Big 12's had some good years. But the ACC, if you go look at the best three seasons, and again, they've already been poisoned. There's this narrative. I guess these odds people and these bracket pickers got beat up in their lifetime by some ACC person because it's just this narrative that oh they suck, they suck. You're telling me going into Carolina and getting a win is an easy game? I don't give a fuck what quad you're in. Go play at Carolina. Let me know how it works out for you. It's just this thing where, so again, Texas doesn't win any quad two games. Those are bad losses. That doesn't count against you.
So Uncle
So,
Dan, last
you
time
can,
SEC won was Kentucky in 2012. That's the last time an SEC team won a
right,
championship.
right, exactly. They had the Brow, right? He had
Yep,
Davis,
Anthony
right?
Davis. Yep, that was a good
Yep.
team.
And yeah, they had a couple of studs on that team. So yeah, so 2012, it's been a long time. So yeah, but they've had great teams since then. 2015, Kentucky certainly has had some great moments,
Yeah,
and
Wisconsin,
Auburn's
that was
had
a
some
big.
great
Yep,
moments.
yep.
Wisconsin plucked them off, but at the same time, the ACC is going through the flux of coaches. And by the way, Coach Neptune got let go today by
Yes, I
Villanova.
saw that. I saw that.
Um,
It's ironic. We were just talking about him on that list that was put out of
yeah.
coaches that were on the hot seat and could get fired. He was one of them.
The
Came to
sad thing is that he turned Fordham around in 1 year, but as a former Villanova assistant, when Villanova comes knocking, I guarantee you in the back of his head he didn't want to do it, but you can't turn that down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can't follow Jay Wright. And again, we're gonna find out. Is Villanova without Jay Wright? Just like Indiana's not Indiana without
Well,
Bob
that's
Knight?
that's the category I think they're going to fall into, honestly. Kind of.
Yeah, because I mean, like I know they put all their money into the basketball first, but is Nova or is Jay Wright recruit? Jay Wright didn't get the All Americans. Jay Wright got the kids, and their staff obviously was amazing in player development. Same thing as you see Duke's staff is obviously the player development, and you see their guys just get better during the year. That's always the mark. But you see some of these staffs guys just keep getting better and better and better. So you can notice that too as a coach. You pick up on which guys have gotten better in the year. Like Duke's big guys right now are totally different than they were in the beginning of the year.
Yes,
So
Ollie
but yes,
Locke is a lot
that's
better than what he was in
yeah.
November.
And the big kid for St. John's, they call him Scooby Doo. Basically, he's a pro now.
Yeah.
He's actually a pro. I mean, he was beginning of the year, he was just a body. Now this kid is he's a stud. I mean, so St. John's, the big kid, has definitely made them a different team. I thought when they would lost Soriano last year that they would, struggle in the post this year, but this kid has stepped up, and so it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah,
It's
Villanova though, it's going to be interesting going forward. You look at like a program like a Florida or Wisconsin; they've just been kind of good no matter what. Like we talked about it post
sure.
Ryan, Wisconsin's still proven that they're a powerhouse program. And Michigan post John Beeline. All right, Jawan Howard, that experiment didn't work out, but it looks like they're certainly on the right track now.
Yeah,
So there's
but
some
the thing,
schools.
but the thing is, like, you look at these teams, like Wisconsin fans are trying to get Greg Gard fired the last 3 or 4 years.
I know.
I mean,
You
you're
know
on Twitter, but then again, the fans on
what are you
Twitter are
looking
just,
for?
I mean, the fans on Twitter are just really stupid. First of all, I mean, most of the country doesn't know basketball. Again, I talk about these sites you're on. There's a couple of guys I respond to basically all the time because they're knowledgeable, but some of these people are just you can just tell they never played or coached at any kind of level of success in their life. And
Coach
so
Gard, Uncle Dave, he's 200 and 110 in his 10th
yeah,
season.
yeah, yep, yeah. Well,
So
it's the
come
same
on,
people who said, they
what are you
want
looking
they
for?
want McCaffrey out. They want McCaffrey out because he got a technical foul. It's like, okay, yeah, great. Yes, he knows he's gonna get fired, but he should be calm, right?
Oh, God, just
Yeah, it's just incredible. But again, I mean, there's just so much good basketball on today, but and tomorrow we got a little bit more. Tennessee, Florida tomorrow should be fun. I really wish they would get away from the Sunday conference championship games and give the kids that extra day. I know why they do it. The smaller conferences, a lot of them tomorrow have a chance to get on national television with their conference championships, and I get that.
yeah, it's a nice,
Uh, but
nice thing.
but it's not good for the body. They're gonna have to get on a plane. They have to figure this out. It's I know they're young, but they're still it's still it's not the best way to do it, but I know the smaller conferences need that need those TV dollars. I get it, but geez, it's just I hope they're playing early tomorrow. All of them. There shouldn't be anybody playing late. In the old days, the SWAC used to play like at like 7 o'clock, and it would actually say on the bracket winner of the SWAC. Like they'll like always be like a 15 or 14 seed back when you were a little kid. And it was be funny, like so, like Northwest Texas State or somebody like that we play in one of those smaller conferences, out in the different time zone, and they'd be like, well, they're going to fill in on the 15 seed. They didn't even have them up there yet. It was kind of funny back in the day with that.
Wisconsin, Michigan State, by the way, for those of you that didn't see the end of the game there, that was definitely a clean rip there at
Yep,
the
he
end there.
stripped them.
Yep, it was not a foul for sure. So that
Yeah,
was the
he
right
picked
call.
them. Great pick.
And
He picked them big time.
how about Chase Richardson, Jason Richardson's son, filling it up? Boy, had 21 points and was
You know, it's just funny you say that. His dad is uh, one of the strangest careers I've ever seen in my life because
really
when
exciting
you
player, Jason
when
Richardson.
you when you watched him, you said to yourself, he's one of the best five players in the NBA, and then he never did that.
Yeah,
And it's not like I don't think he had any major injuries or anything like that, but you always just looked at him and you think to yourself, like, how could that career just been over? Like, I feel like he didn't play long enough, I mean, I don't know what happened. Like when you look him up,
he played 13 seasons, so he had a
exactly,
yeah, he played
exactly.
13.
But
Yeah.
like he was like you'd watch him and you'd say that's when basketball was real back then. I watched a lot of the NBA back then. Now I just watch it casually. But you watch him and you go, oh my God, this
And he was a
guy's like he's
you want to talk about you I know you've talked about it, just freaks as far as talent wise. Rasheed Wallace is
oh
one. Jason Richardson is another guy. The guy could fly
that's
through
why I
the air
always
like
say
a
to people,
he could
like,
fly through the air like a bird, and he could fill it up from three too. I
yep.
mean, he could get hot.
And yeah, him, Baron Davis, Dwayne Wade, guys,
Yeah,
Rasheed
just
Wallace,
freaks talent wise. Yeah,
just so talented. Like they would do something that maybe they worked on for 5 minutes in a
I
game. You
know.
could tell it, and
Yeah,
they just do it.
yeah,
Like Rasheed Wallace was like that. Rasheed Wallace, I mean, like, yeah, he's a jackass, but good God, this guy was just one of the most talented human beings you ever put on a basketball uniform. I mean, this guy was a freak. I mean, like in Dwayne Wade, same thing. Dwayne Wade's use of the pivot was like Akeem Olajuwon, except he could do it as a guard. It was just freakish. Like Dwayne Wade was so talented. I know you say, well, he's not the top five all time. It's not about that. It's about talent. This guy was just so talented. Sean Kemp, just people like that, and you just say, oh my God, it's so talented.
yeah. From
You
for
know, it's
most of his
just
career, Jason Richardson, he averaged like close to 19, 20. He look at his best years,
yeah.
like he was
Yeah,
around that mark.
but then like all of a sudden he was
Like
like
8, 9 seasons.
not that kind of player anymore. And I don't know what happened. There
Yeah,
must have been an injury in there or something.
he had an injury in 2013, 2014. He didn't play the whole season, and then he plays one more season in Philadelphia, 2014, 2015, and that's done. So
Jesus,
he probably had an injury that just, probably zapped him, and that was it.
just a stud though. I remember watching him going, man, he's
He
unbelievable. I
was.
mean, he was
He's one of these guys. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's in the Hall of very good and very memorable, though, for sure.
yeah, he was a stud. He reminds me of like Brandon Roy. I mean, Brandon Roy was a great player too. Not as athletic as Richardson. Like Richardson was one of the best
Yeah,
athletes in the league. He
yeah.
was
Jason
freaking
Richardson was
unbelievable.
6'6", 220, built like a brick shithouse, and could just
Yeah, he's
put it in
just
the
a
cup.
freak. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, when he would jump, he would just glide
Oh
through the
yeah.
air like
Yeah. Yeah.
he was like Drexler except a little stronger and like not as good a player obviously, but
Yes.
just one of those guys that just when he jumped it looked different. Like when Zion jumps, it looks different.
Yeah. It's just it looks like there's literally rockets at the bottom of their feet, and they're just powering
Yeah,
up.
and it's
Yeah.
just like it really looks like they're in slow mo. They just float through the air, and like the other guys start to go down, and they're still going up. It's just he was just such a talent. His kid is not as talented as he is,
No.
but he is very good.
No, he is good.
He is very good.
His father, his father was a little thicker and more explosive, so he's not
Yeah, oh yeah.
quite that.
Yeah,
Um,
well, him and the kid from Wisconsin, I think, are the best two players in the Big Ten. But the no, the Frosh from Maryland is very good too. But this, then the kid Wolf is very good for Michigan. So obviously, there's some great players in the Big Ten. But I know everybody will say Bailey and Wagner, but Wagner missed a ton of time. Harper, I mean, missed a ton of time for Rutgers this year. And Bailey obviously is very talented as well. So, but as far as the guys who played the best this year, I mean, Wolf has played great. Richardson's played great. The stud from Wisconsin has played great. There's so many good players in the Big Ten. So, but Richardson is definitely one of them.
and then you had, I mean, Alabama. I tell you what was missing, and Jay Billis was talking about it. Mark Sears definitely has to get going in order for them to win. He's not played well offensively the last couple of games for them, and they've kind of struggled. I think if he gets going, I think they're definitely a team that could win it all. But right now, he's just kind of from the line. He's from the 3 point line. He's not been on point. So that's been
He's a
missing.
volume shooter right now. Right now, he's a volume shooter.
Yeah. So
You know,
they had only what was it here? They only had four guys with double figures here. They just were off today a little bit. But you know what? Credit to Florida too. Florida defensively too, I think, is a lot better than Alabama is. So they were able to just wear them down and
oh
bother
yeah.
them
Well,
enough. So
you could tell that Florida was really into the scouting report today. They must have
yes,
got about 5 or 6 passing lane steals where
they
they
did.
anticipated.
They did.
And you could see it was a scouting play. It wasn't like just a read. Like he knew this, he knew it was coming. And he paid attention because Clayton got a bunch of those today. Kid Nelson, when he doesn't play well, they're not the same team.
Yes.
And yeah, like I said, I'm sure that Alabama could definitely give you a scare, but it's going to be
Yeah, Florida
I-
just had so much energy today. They're just flying all over the court. You know, the role players were looked really like Chinyalu was a guy you talked about it. Like their front court guys, they just are able to catch enough dunks and enough lobs, and they're just hellacious around the rim
yep,
defensively. So Florida, I
yep,
think, is a problem, especially
yeah,
if you have Clayton Jr. and Martin filling it up. Then you're really screwed against them.
sure. You got 3 great guards, and you got like 3 or 4 big guys to make up the depth, so you could afford a little foul trouble. And that's the key in these games. You can afford a little foul trouble if you're them, and that makes a big difference. That's why Florida is legit Final Four contender, and in my opinion, should definitely be a #1 seed. A lot of Tennessee fans are hooting that they should get it over Auburn, but I mean, Auburn has struggled down the stretch here, but yet they're going to get a pass because they're in this SEC, which is, it drives you crazy. In 2019, ACC had 3-1 seeds, so this shit about this being the best conference in history. I mean, 80s ACC and 80s Big East had some years where you just sitting there going, "Holy shit!" I mean, like, let's see what they do in March, then we'll talk.
It's fair enough right there. And tomorrow we got at noon, we got Cornell and Yale. And at 1 o'clock, Tennessee and Florida. That should be a lot of fun. George Mason and VCU. And then at 3, we have UAB against Memphis. And Memphis, they won a close one today against Tulane. I don't know if you were able to see any of that game.
Yes,
And
I
then,
did.
and then 3:30, we have Wisconsin and Michigan. So tomorrow, those are
Yeah.
your slate of games before we have the bracket come out. So a lot of games to look forward to tomorrow as well. So it'll be interesting to
Yep.
also see those smaller teams that a lot of people don't get that national audience. You know those
Sure. Sure.
so George Mason and
Yeah,
VC.
rooting for Yale tomorrow. Coach Jones is a local guy. He's done a great job at Yale. Still ran the
13 and
best
1 in conference, 21 and 7. How about that?
still ran the best basketball recruiting by one school that my son ever attended, and I used to go to them. I used to organize them, and been to about 30 different schools, and he ran the best one. I thought it was the best one. The Yale camp was the best one run. Got the most exposure. They got everybody was treated the same.
That's
It was
saying
great.
something because you've been to a ton of basketball camps, so that's saying something
Yeah,
right there.
and so he ran the best one. It's a good exposure for everybody, and it was run fairly. And the coaches actually coached, so it was really good.
So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, definitely was a fun day watching these
Oh,
games today.
great stuff. I mean, and it's funny. It went from like 11 o'clock to like 11:30, and like it felt like I was only there for 5 minutes.
I
I mean,
know that's the thing. The hours go by like minutes. It's incredible.
yeah, and you sit there and you make dinner in between. Like you find like that 10-minute gap where you start dinner and you quick make it.
Right.
But it's just one of those things. And then you quick run out for dessert between another 5-minute gap somewhere else. You hope that there's no line at the Carvel.
How about Milos Uzan, Uncle Dave for Houston there? He had a really
Yeah,
good game today, but it's listening to the announcer, they were talking about his agent. I got to be honest, I definitely was cringing a little bit. I'm like, oh God, we're talking about college players and agents here. But he said
yeah.
apparently it was like the noble NIL thing where he took less money to go to Houston. So it's like, okay,
Oh Jesus, yeah, great. I tell
like
you,
a,
I
it's like
want to
a
know.
pro player
Is it?
taking a lesser
Yeah.
deal.
Is this a certified agent or is this like a street guy?
I know.
Like
I
that's
want to
my point.
know. I want to know.
So
Like I
he's
said,
so he's got his finance degree, huh? Because you need a finance degree. Like to be an agent, it's actually a lot of education that goes into it. So it's you got to know contract. I mean, this is the part I was talking about. Like,
what I
well, how,
envision is you have people like Sylvester Stallone from Rocky trying to be the agents for these college kids. I think you have him like, hey, I can make you a deal. I can make you a deal here.
yeah,
That
yeah,
type,
yeah,
that type
yeah. Like his
of
brother, his brother-in-law Paulie trying to get a deal
situation.
going. Yeah, yeah. I'll get a deal. I'll get you a nice robe. Yeah, it's that's it's something's going to go really wrong one day, and then it's all going to blow up. And
Yeah.
between that and like the couple of schools that got nailed in the gambling stuff, and it's going to
We're
go.
waiting
It's
for
just
the
going to
avalanche. The avalanche is coming. It's just a matter of when.
it is coming because you know what? Whenever something changes, it takes a little while for people to figure out how to fully exploit it. And it's been like year two or three of this nil stuff, and all of a sudden it's going to get to a level where it's just going to be insane. And so it's going to get crazy. We'll have to see if like the first year takes effect of the less upsets. I know that the bubble this year is totally different. I don't feel like there's a lot of little schools in the bubble right now. I feel like it's already been a little different. Like how many bid stealers are there? Like if VCU loses tomorrow, that'll be a bid steal. But if VCU wins, like they probably will, or Memphis wins, I mean, you're not gonna lose a bid steal. I mean, the Mountain West, you might get a bid steal, depending on who wins. But it's crazy. There's not as many bid steals this year. You're not going to hear the cries of the smaller schools as much.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see how this tournament plays out in future ones because that'll be something definitely to look out for. With
Yeah,
how is the tournament? It's kind of not been predictable, but you can kind of guess as to how many upsets there'll be, and there's kind
sure.
of like an average of things.
Well,
Now
you
things
know,
are
to,
totally different now.
yeah, well, tomorrow, I'll have all my stats for what each seed's record is over the last, over the tournament history, and where it be a 5 versus 12, a 4 versus 13, like I'll have all those numbers for us, and that's always exciting to have. And it's always fun to look at those. And it's in the fives and the 12s over the recent years. There's always been a 12 picking off a five. And there's been a lot of 13s picking off fours. Once you get past that, there's not a lot. It used to be rare, but it's getting less rare. But now we'll see with this nil stuff. Some schools are really pitching in and some aren't. And we're going to see because the schools that aren't really big in football, maybe they're putting more money into basketball, but yet it's a smaller school. We'll see. We'll see how this pays off, and we're going to see again with what these schools do is everybody is Indiana's everybody else's fault. If Mike Woodson gets in tomorrow, that's 3 times in 5 years. Why are we kicking him out the door?
Yeah, that'll be how funny
I
would
mean,
that
like
be?
because I mean, if they get in, which they could, I mean, like you're gonna if nobody bid steals tomorrow, Indiana might get in. Like, and I hope they do for Mike Woodson's sake. He was a good coach for the Knicks. He's done a good job at Indiana, but again, if you're, I hate to tell you, man, this pains me to say it, but kids don't care about the old Indiana. Kids don't care about, a kid could care less about going to Jay Wright and Rolly Massimino's days. Like, kids just don't like that anymore. They read whatever's 5 minutes old on TikTok.
I think unless you
And
get a Chris Beard, you can't sell me on they've upgraded.
exactly. So like, yeah, but if you upgrade the facilities, we're gonna find out. Like St. John's just said, all right, Rick Pitino said we're playing as many games at the Garden as
That's a
possible. He
smart
made
move.
that
That's a smart move to
made
do.
made that demand in his contract, and that Garden was humming tonight. And it's I don't know.
A
I'm
lot
just
of
really
people I've been
curious.
seeing excited to go to see St. John's play now. A bunch of people
Sure,
always are on, I
sure.
see their posts that they're at the game, and it looks literally like when the Knicks are there now. It's really packed out.
Yeah, I mean it's I'm just really curious as a Duke fan to see the 8-9 lines tomorrow. I guess obviously Duke will have to deal with one of
Tough
those
to
eight
deal with.
nine
Yep,
lines.
you're gonna have to. Yep, no
The
question.
only thing I'll say is I haven't seen the 16 seeds yet, but I'm just hoping that the bottom teams in these big conferences are the 11s and there's out bracket games. But the other thing I'm listening to see is sometimes you get a 16 seed that you could see can win because they have a certain style of play or the senior dominant guards. But I can't see any of the ones this year losing. Uh, Florida is just too deep, too talented. Auburn, I could see struggling for a little while because I
Well, they
still
lost
think,
last. They lost last year. Remember to Yale? I don't think they played.
yeah,
I don't
I
know. They
think
weren't a
Auburn.
one seed last year, but they
Yeah,
lost to Yale last year.
I really think Auburn's overachieved. I think Bruce Pearl's overachieved. I think he's pulled a Don Shula and a Bill Belichick where, he goes 14-2 and they lose in the second round. Everybody goes, oh, gee, they choked. No, they shouldn't have been 14-2. They were well coached. So I really think that, Pettiford's obviously very good. Broom is very good. Mazzara is the wild card for them that I see. Obviously, they defend, and Bruce Pearl's a wonderful coach. But if you're going to go on talent, I can see them having a couple of brain farts on offense. I mean, defensively, they'll take you out. But I just think that, I mean, Duke's going to just keep flooding you. Florida's going to keep flooding you. I just don't see it. I don't see those teams losing in the first round. Houston obviously is going to guard the hell out of you and scare the hell out of you. So I don't see those teams losing. I can see maybe Auburn getting into a game, but then again, Auburn's lost 3 of their last 6 games. So why do they not get penalized for that?
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, like everybody goes, "Oh, they're definitely a one." Well, why? Like, it doesn't matter that they didn't get it done. You see, people are like, well, if Duke lost to Carolina, would they have won? Well, why not?
Without
I
Cooper
mean, like,
Flag, definitely. I
yeah,
still.
without
Yeah.
flag. So they go, well, Kenya Martin, but Kenya Martin broke his leg. That's why they didn't give Cincinnati the 1 seed in '99. But the thing is, Kenya Martin broke his leg. You knew he was out. But again, we don't hold anybody accountable in the SEC, or they get free pass or what? So for me, again, it's
Well,
just
your
like
one
frustrating.
seeds as of right now, Uncle Dave. Who would you have as your 4 1 seeds?
Well, if we're gonna penalize people for actually losing games, which I can't fucking believe we don't do this anymore. To me, if you want to go like to me, your last 10 games are more important than your first 10 games, but that's just me. I mean, as a coach, like you want to finish better than you started. Like to me, we have 3 clear 1 seeds in Florida, Houston, and
Duke.
and Duke. But I tell you, if Michigan State had won their conference tournament, I would have put them in there. But now they've lost. Alabama doesn't deserve it, and either does.
Someone told me St. John's maybe as the fourth.
Yeah, well, St. John's is probably on the highest 2 line. Tennessee, I still think they lost too many games, but
The
St.
last,
John's is hot.
the ones you
St.
named,
John's is hot.
those three, those are definite shoo-ins right there. The fourth
Well,
one's
they're
a
going to
wild.
put Auburn in there because we just
Yeah.
have this love affair with Auburn. Like, it's just like it's the self-fulfilling prophecy. There's such an agenda out there with this SAC right now. I mean, if they don't get like 2 teams in the Final Four, I don't want to hear shit. I mean, I'm just tired of it. I mean, like, can you get me? I mean, who in that league besides Alabama and Florida? Like, some of these teams have real trouble scoring. I mean, Arkansas. I mean, John Calipari's teams haven't hit a jump shot in a tournament in about 10 years.
Yeah.
So watch Arkansas have trouble scoring down the
And
stretch. Kentucky,
Kentucky's good, but they're not great. They're good. They're not great.
exactly. Kentucky's all banged up, and they're just a mess. I mean, like they had a great. Kentucky won some big games in November against teams that had all freshmen on the floor like Duke. But how they finished in the last month and a half? They've been crap. So Purdue looked like crap the other day. So you got to finish strong. So to me, Michigan doesn't deserve a one because Michigan State beat them twice. But Wisconsin, they don't deserve a one either. So some years you don't really have 4 1s, and they're going to give it to Auburn by default. But St. John's hasn't lost in a long time. So, but you know what? They're going to look at
St.
the Big
John's could
East. I know.
they could sneak into that one spot though.
Yeah, they'll never do it though because there's some grudge out there or something. But everybody, like I said, the SEC, everybody's just in love with the SEC. But they're not even going to have 3 1 seeds. The SEC, and like I tell you, ACC had that in 2019. So this talk about, oh my God, is the best thing ever. I mean, like, dude. I mean, the fact that Oklahoma could get in here is a crime. I mean, this team sucks. They're 6-12 in a goddamn conference. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
shit about what you did in November against fucking Alcorn State.
Right.
And plus, the goddamn
That
Ken,
doesn't mean anything though.
yeah, the Ken Palm and all other bullshit takes into effect point spread. So you want to beat up an Alcorn State by 70? I mean, what the fuck is that? That counts for something? It's just bullshit. But you know what? And then we're going to count that, but then we're going to tell me, don't tell me Auburn's the number one overall. I mean, they've lost 3 of their last 7, I think, 6 games. Don't tell me they're the number one overall. Duke just won again. And if November matters, Duke beat them, and they didn't beat them by 1 either. They beat them comfortably. So you know what? I don't want to hear shit. So but we can't have it both ways in this stuff. So St. John's has finished great. You can tell me Big East, Big East, Big East. Well, UConn's in the Big East. They're the 2-time national champs. Villanova's won twice in the last 10 years. So obviously the Big East has done something right. St. John's did schedule aggressively, non-league as well. They had some tough games. But the bottom line is, like, if you want to go by it, St. John's right now is playing as well as anybody in this country. Maryland was until I thought that game got away from them today. They made a couple of mistakes. They came back. They clawed their way back. But I don't know. I mean, they're going to give it to Auburn by default, but I have to tell you, Auburn is down the stretch here has not been impressive. I mean, they might have peaked.
Sure have, I think. I think at this point, I think it's safe to say that
Yeah,
honestly.
it can happen. I've seen it. We've
Not
seen teams,
they've not
you know,
looked the last month. They've not looked like how they did in the first,
right. And
half,
we've all had teams like
3/4 of
that.
the
Like
season. Yep.
I've had teams that got off to 5-0 starts, but we dragged them so hard to get to 5-0, and they peaked right there, and they never recovered. And after that, they were good. 15-7 or 15-8 or whatever the hell it was, but they weren't the same anymore. Like you
Yep.
get them to sometimes teams peak early, and this could be a team that I don't know. We've been so much in love with them. I mean, Mazzara's got to be right. If Mazzara and Pettiford are playing well, yeah, they could beat anybody. But if they're not, you want to rely on Janai Broom shooting a fadeaway jump shot on a baseline. Go ahead. He's been a great player. He's probably going to win Player of the Year because he's upperclassman, which I usually favor the upperclassmen. But at the same time, I mean, whew, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's something in. Alabama's also leaking a little gas. Now maybe they'll get rejuvenated by getting outside the SEC. Obviously they will, but Alabama just doesn't guard enough.
Let's get back to Duke, well, Dave. How do you characterize this ACC championship here that Duke has won without Cooper Flagg? And I think it's a very impressive thing. I think them doing that. I think when Cooper Flagg went down against Georgia Tech, I think kind of every Duke fan was like, okay, well, the ACC championship that might be done with, but here they are, and they won the whole thing in the ACC
Well,
conference tournament.
this is going to sound really lame, but what used to be a common thing is not common anymore, and I think the non-common thing is what gets it done for them. Everybody was engaged 20 to 30 years ago. Everybody was into their thing 20, 30 years ago. That goes for high school, that goes for college. Once in a while, you'd find a team that wasn't engaged and you didn't even consider. Today, the norm is to have teams that are engaged sometimes. This Duke team looks engaged all the time. That's the credit to the kids, and it's a credit to Shire and his staff to keep these kids engaged. Houston always looks engaged. They might not win every game, but they look like
From
it
tip-offs
matters.
to the clocks hit zero, yeah, they're
Right.
totally into it. Yep.
And they look like they're cohesive. I think I teams that look cohesive. I think Michigan State looks cohesive. Like they look like they enjoy each other. St. John's looks like they enjoy each other. Florida, and it's not always a love fest. Sometimes you get a face pounding in a locker room, but they look like they root for each other, and I think that's a big, big, big part of this.
This Duke
I
team
mean,
reminds me of the 2010 Duke team. That kind of was a team that wasn't the most talented Duke team, but damn it, they played well together. And I think
yeah,
that is kind of how this team is right here. And
yeah.
you
Well,
think
this
this,
this team reminds me also of the 2001 team though too, because there's several really good pros on this team. But at the same time, like they had a couple of injuries, and then guys like Casey Sanders stepped up and helped Duke win the 0-1 title. Duke doesn't win the 0-1 title without him. He's a 7-footer that you never heard of, but at the same time, Battier making all the little plays, and then you had Boozer go down for a little bit, but then Casey Sanders had to get in there and make it. Nate James had to have his role increased a little bit. And you had Dunleavy, and obviously was a pro. Obviously had Jason Williams, who was a pro. Obviously you had a tragic accident, but you had some guys who were real pros, Boozer and Battier. So you had four pros right there. I guess Boozer would be the best of those four.
Chris Duhon
But or
eventually became one as
Chris
well.
Duhon became a pro. He's a freshman on that team. But you had guys like Nate James and Sanders step up in guys' absences. And Boozer, I think, missed a couple of games. And you had guys step in and step up. And that's what happened here. I mean, the scary thing is Proctor and nobody really played well on the perimeter for Duke last night. The big guys played well for Duke last night. And again, the two big kids, Malawach and the other kid off the bench, well, at the beginning of the year, they were not the same player they are now. And again, I think this team just really is connected into what they believe. And you can tell that they're locked into their coach, and they trust in their coach. And that's a big thing in my book.
I would agree. I think moving forward, you have a real message that you could send. This is a real team and a real nucleus here. When your best player goes down, you're still able to win. Like I said, essentially 3 games in a row in the ACC tournament. That's incredible. Now, what do
Yeah.
you do moving forward with Cooper Flagg? I think he has to play in your first NCAA tournament game, right? I mean, I wouldn't risk
I think you have
not
to see
playing him.
where he's at. I think
Yeah.
he's full speed ahead, is what John Shire just said in the press conference after the game. I think it was, they had him on the ACC network, and I
Ice
think he
and
said full.
painkillers, I think that's what you got to.
Yeah, I think he said full speed ahead, but you got to see what his lateral movement is like and when he jumps. Obviously lift, but I'd definitely try to work him in that first game, get him 25 minutes or
Yeah, they
so,
might
and
have
see
a
what.
minute. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Maybe you have a minute restriction on him or something like that.
And you're really going to have to watch and make sure that he doesn't try to force it, because before he got hurt in that Georgia Tech game, he was 1 for 7 and he was forcing it. So you got to make sure that he doesn't try to do too much, because
That's
everybody
the thing.
expects
You
him to
have
be
some
something.
guys, they're a little too anxious, maybe, and
And
that's
that's my
kind of what
concern is with Duke
happens.
on Thursday, or if they're playing Thursday at some 12:07 game somewhere, Friday at 12:07. You
You
just
get a
never
little
know
too
what
excited.
happens.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, they'll probably put them on 7:30 because Cooper Flag. They'll put them on like a Friday night. They'll probably make Duke be a Friday night game, and that'll be them. I don't know what day of the week Raleigh is, whether it's Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday. But Duke's definitely going to choose Raleigh, so they're going to be in their backyard. So I know Providence is Friday, Sunday, but I'm not sure what days Raleigh is. So they will play either, whatever day Raleigh has. That's when Duke's going to be in there. So we'll have to see what days Raleigh is, what days they host, but they'll obviously be in their backyard.
think it's an
So
incredible achievement and accomplishment, though, for this team to be able to pull that off. I think you can't.
yeah, well, that's a credit to the staff and it's a credit to the kids too. Like
Yeah,
next man up is this phrase because everything we do today,
it's a cliche,
we
but
do.
it's true, though.
Yeah. Today we have to have a phrase for everything. We used to just call it like a symptom of something. Today we go, if the kid couldn't pay attention today, we say he's got this disability or that disability. Well, now we go next man up. You're the next guy that had to play, and that's the way it goes. You had 8 players playing, guy got hurt. Now the ninth guy gets to play. Today we have to have phrases for everything, so we have to have some cool phrase and put our hand in the air, next man up. But that's what they did. So the next guy plays, and Gumba played great. Malawach played great. Duke's defense locked up in the second half. In the first half, even the 30 minutes of this game, Edwards hit some really assed
Yeah,
in a couple of shots. He hit some
29
impossible
shots,
shots.
29 shot attempts for him tonight.
Yeah, but he hit about 3 or 4 of them where you're
That were
like,
really
hey,
tough. Yeah, that were really
and you're
tough.
like, hey, keep taking that shot. We're gonna get you. And it's funny. You have to pick an ACC tournament MVP, and Knipple won it, but they really didn't have anybody that played great all 3 games. Malawach doesn't score enough to get that award, but he changes everything on defense.
Malulak, I
Knip,
think that's what really could be the game changer for Duke in the tournament. Having a rim protector like that, having the beanstalk in the middle, that really can alter shots. That is a
well,
huge
that's I always
advantage.
tell you.
Not every team
I'll
has
take a
that.
rim protector. I'll take a rim protector over anything. But
Like you said, you
he,
want to see a title, give me 6'8".
yeah, give me a rim protector. I'll manipulate. But the thing is, like, people forget that they just had so much depth, and Brown is a bigger loss than people think because Brown was the key to them winning the Carolina game at Carolina last week. Davis got hot, Brown switched on him. That faucet went off. So Brown is one of the best defenders I've ever seen in college as far as like hedging and stuff. He's amazing. So he's a it's just Louisville though is a scary team. They're a little banged up right now. I would not want to see them on my side of the bracket because they defend and they had the tempo the way they wanted it for a
I
little
could
while.
easily see them being an Elite Eight team. I will tell you that.
Absolutely. People have no idea. You watch, they're gonna get hosed on the seed. They'll get like a 5 or 6, and you'll say to yourself, how is 27-5 being an ACC school going to get you a 5 or a
That
6?
would be criminal. That would really be criminal.
Yeah, you know it's coming, dude. It's coming.
Yeah, well, Louisville Cardinal fans will surely be not pleased with that one. I
Oh yeah, but
assure you.
it's sometimes it works out better. I mean, like, they're going to get in there and
Oh,
they're
it
going to
could be. At
get
the end of the day,
somebody.
you still got to play who's in front of you and still win. You know what I mean? You
It's
can't.
so scary when your bracket comes out. It's scary no matter who the hell you are
Yeah,
because everybody
all the
faces
teams have been accomplished. Exactly. You're not getting anyone that's a club.
exactly. And you can always think of a way. And as a coach or a fan of a team, if you know your team really well, you always can think of a way where your team could lose this game. Because if you're analytical about it, you understand the game, you realize there is a way that even in every game you ever coach in your life, you can see a way where you could lose, and then you try to make sure that doesn't happen by avoiding it. But you can still see it.
Absolutely.
And so like if Duke sees an 8 or a 9, like a Memphis or something,
Oh, yeah,
I don't know.
it could
Memphis
happen.
hasn't played anybody in a while, but they are fearless. You could see a UConn, an 8-9 game in UConn, or one of those teams. It could be tough.
We'll wrap up Uncle Dave our college basketball there. We'll get into a couple general discussion topics here. How about Uncle Dave? The Golden State Warriors post Jimmy Butler trade 13-1. How about that? The
Yes,
Warriors now might have totally. We talked about it that this might be the shot in the arm that they've needed to turn their season around, and it sure looks like that now. I think that Jimmy Butler
sure.
he's bringing the piss and vinegar that's needed besides Draymond. I think now to really make them a true contender now. So I think also it gives them a guy to give the ball to late in the shot clock besides Steph that can go get you a bucket now.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off of Steph because you don't have Clay, obviously, and but Jimmy's obviously a different player than Clay, but plus he defends, and I think that
The
Golden State
seven
could use a little of that. If Kaminga can come back totally healthy, they could be a dangerous team. And I just think that the West is wide open because when you watch Denver, they just don't have it. So Joker doesn't have any help. It's just not enough there. Their GM really is blowing this opportunity here. You got like another 1 or 2 year window, and
No,
the
you bet
deadline
it's
he
done.
did.
And Jamal Murray's
Uh,
had injury issues, so you
yeah,
might be.
Yeah, the deadline, he didn't do a goddamn thing. I like the Westbrook move in the offseason, but the deadline, you did not improve your team. You need another one. You need another really good player. And there
We
were some
talked
guys
about it.
available at that
We talked
deadline.
about it. You're missing a Bruce Brown and a Caldwell Pope. You're missing
Yep.
that. You
Yep.
gotta
And
have
like,
those type of guys.
and even then, what if you went to Phoenix and said, "Hey, give me KD, give me Keith
Right.
draft picks"? They would have done it. They would have done
Yeah.
it
You
because you
have to
know what?
sell out to win now because you have Jokic, who's a
Yeah,
once in a lifetime
because
player.
because this guy's a generational player. You got another maybe 5 years tops with this guy. And then the bad news is like you didn't get any help. I mean, all right, if you don't want to go get KD, then you got to get some other help. You got to get like a
You got to sell
get
out
it.
the whole day because he's a top 25 player. I think this guy at the end of his
Yeah,
career.
I think he's a top 15 already. I mean, but you got to like go get like at least a guy like a DiVincenzo or somebody of that caliber and
Right.
get a player.
Who could fill
Like
you
get
up?
a damn player. Go get Julius Randle off the freaking T-Wolves if they're not happy. Like just go get somebody who can put the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon's great, but Jamal is just gets banged up. His knee has never been totally the same. Go get another backup guard. Go get a fucking Tyus Jones or a Trey Jones to back him up. Do something for Christ's sake. I mean, like go get somebody off of Phoenix. Phoenix right now it looks like they want to just blow this thing up. So go
Right.
get somebody.
Right. Yeah. Get in their ear.
Go, yeah, go get somebody with Phoenix. We'll see if the Wizards will give you a Pool. Maybe Pool could get a couple of buckets for you. Maybe Pool's got something to prove. Maybe Pool can handle a rock for you
But
when Jamal
that
gets,
shows you though the Warriors though they're a winning organization though. It's not
well,
just
that's again, they got good
that's
GMs and even Pelinka done a good job with the Lakers, but I just don't know who the hell they're going to guard. But anybody who thinks that the Thunder are going to waltz through this thing, the Thunder are a little thin on the front line. They got bitch slapped last year on the defensive end of the floor because they're not big enough, they're not strong enough. When Dorp is one of your better guys, right? Isn't Lou Dorp still there doing his thing?
yep, he is.
I mean, and so like you just need a little bit more physicality, and I'm not sure that they're going to get away with that. I'm rooting for the Thunder hard and the Nuggets because I love Joker and I love SGA because he doesn't open his mouth. But you see that the Spurs have already packed it in. Fox is out for the rest of
Oh
the
yeah,
year.
that's it for them.
The Mavericks almost had to forfeit a game. It sounds like
Yes,
so.
but
That's a shit show.
we're gonna talk about we'll talk about that more tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean that GM's got to be doing that's a hell of a GM move. I mean, the good news is maybe all those guys will leave and you'll get under the cap like crazy.
Right.
But yeah, if I'm the Mavs, I try to go get Durant in the offseason.
Yeah. So I think the Warriors though, I think they've turned their fortunes around. I think the
Sure.
Jimmy Butler move was certainly the game changer that they needed because they were going nowhere fast. And now I think
Yeah, they're in the out bracket game.
yeah, they were a 500 team and now Jimmy Butler, they've kind of pushed themselves over the edge. It was definitely, I think the mood change you needed was to bring in a guy like that. And again, it was something it was a high risk, high reward situation, I think, because Jimmy Butler, he could have gotten in the locker room and totally, obliterated it. But
Yeah, what seed are they right now?
let's take a look at the seeding right now with the NBA. It's a good question right now. Standings here. The Warriors are the sixth seed in the West right now.
Yeah, so you got to play the three. Who's the three?
The
Lakers.
Rockets. The
Yeah, the
Houston
Rockets having
Rockets
a
are the
great
three
year.
seed.
One of the best coaches, but the Warriors be the favorite as a six seed. Just goes to show you what the regular season used to always tell the picture in the playoffs. You very rarely saw upsets in the regular season, but today, since no one plays anymore,
Right.
regular season doesn't mean anything anymore in the
And
NBA. And that look at it.
The Rockets are a young, hungry team, so every regular season game for them is a
Right.
high
But the
intensity
Warriors would be
game.
the favorites. The Warriors would be a favorite by a long
Oh yeah,
shot, and
because
that's a six seed.
you got the postseason experience. Yep, they certainly would be. I think.
But
Yep.
just goes to show you that nobody plays anymore. It's another example. Go back and tell me how many sixes beat threes. It's not that many.
Right. Right.
And
Not back
but
in the day,
now,
unless there was an
but
injury
now,
of some sort.
yeah,
Yeah.
but now nobody gives a crap. They're all making so much money, it doesn't matter. We have load management and all sort of bullshit. So another great invention by Popovich.
So I would, you know what? I'll give the Warriors a chance if they get in the tournament.
Oh, they're definitely getting in.
they're certainly going to get in. I think. Then I would give them a chance, obviously, because Steph, Draymond, they've been there, done that. Steve Kerr, and the role players now. I think with Jimmy Butler there, that everybody gets down a notch.
Kaminga gets healthy and
Yeah,
they rebound the ball enough, and it's got And then I think the 4-5 would be like I don't know who the 4-5 is. I guess the Rock. I guess the
Grizzlies.
Nuggets are the fourth.
The Grizzlies are the fourth seed, and the Lakers are the fifth seed.
Oh, that'd be a great series. That'd be fun.
Yep. So the
And the
Warriors,
number and
I
and
think it's great for the NBA though that the Warriors made that move. I think with Jimmy Butler
yeah,
and Curry, I think
sure.
there'll be eyeballs on those games. I think for
And the
sure.
two seeds, the Nugs.
The Nuggets, yep, and the one is the
Yeah,
Thunder.
they're just a fraud though. They're a fraudulent two seed. They could lose. Who's
Yeah,
the seven?
the
Who's the
Timberwolves.
seven? Yeah, well, the Wolves is just the team that thinks they were going to skip the process this year.
That
You
was
can
the
see that
thing. They thought that they just were going to, climb right back into it, with post trade.
Edwards is just getting involved in stupid shit. So you can tell that that's going to blow up eventually. And Gobert just can't score,
For the
so
Wolves.
that
Yeah,
doesn't matter at
the
all.
Timberwolves, that could be over before it even started.
Yeah. And who's the eight?
The eight's the Clippers.
Yeah, the Clips. Well, who the hell knows what the hell's going to go on there? That's a freak show. Yeah,
See,
it's
with the
just
Warriors,
terrible.
though, I definitely like the Jimmy Butler move, and I think they saved their season with it for sure.
I hope so. You know, Jimmy's a hell of a player. I mean, a little overrated on playoff Jimmy because he's had some real clunkers in these playoff years. But and what's Harden doing with his squad?
Well, the Clippers, you look at them right now, they're 37 and 30. And again, he's, James Harden, he does what he does. So
Hmm.
he right now, you have him and Norman Powell are looking really good. But again, he's a volume player, James Harden.
Kawhi's been playing, right?
He's shooting.
Kawhi's been playing a little bit.
Yeah, Kawhi's played in 24 games this year, but James Harden, he's shooting 40% from the field. He's 39% shooter, 35% from three.
Yeah, so they could beat the Nuggets though.
They could because you
Because
know what? If Kawhi actually plays and James Harden's playing, the rest of
Yep.
their role players are good. You got Bogdanovich there now and Zubac. So I mean, they could
Yep.
definitely pull out some upsets. And Derek Jones is just a freak athletically off the bench for them.
Yeah, well, that's why the NBA playoffs will always be a decent product because the star power,
Yes, exactly. And
just
guys are really dialed in at that point. So when
and
once
every
preseason
year,
time comes, it's
yeah,
absolutely, I think, worthwhile watching.
it is. It's the best. It's really is to me, it's the best postseason of all the postseasons. But every year, because these guys don't play during the regular season, I've said it for years. It's the postseason that gets affected most by injuries because they do think they can turn it on. And they used to not get this crap in the past because guys did play 75 to 82 games. Everybody did. And then now you get guys who are healthy play 60 games because they, turn an ankle here and they miss 10 games. It's like it's just crap.
Yeah.
So the bad news is like you have to have people come back and play, and then they try to turn it on. And every year we've seen just last 3 or 4 years, we've seen just terrible injuries, and you don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah,
So
they're
I would
totally
just love to have
irrelevant.
everybody be healthy. That's why I propose going to a 72 game season and just have no back to backs. And again, make it a DL situation. There's no load management. If you're going to sit out, you got to go in a DL. You got to miss X amount of games
Yeah,
right away, so we
you
know.
gotta miss at least 2 weeks or something, right?
Yep, exactly. Like they do in baseball, they do it, in the football and the sports. You got to do it because have no back-to-back 72 games. Make everybody play and just tell them, look, you want to do this shit? Like we're trying to work with you here, but I guess this is the business model is not going to work. But NBA playoffs always have star power, and every year the matchups are just amazingly engaging. So there's nothing you can say. I mean, even the Suns. I don't think the Suns going to even get in. I don't think so, right?
Yeah, Phoenix right now is on the Phoenix right now is on the outside looking in, which is just absolutely incredible because you have
What are
Devin
they, a 10
Booker.
seed?
They're 11th right now.
Yeah.
The Kings and the Mavericks are ahead of them. I think they'll eventually skip them just because now the Kings and
Oh, the Mavs are done, yeah.
The Mavericks are done, so they'll probably get in that 10th spot there. But how are you 5 games below 500? You got Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on your team. It just goes to show you there's one ball out there, and it's a team game, even in the NBA at this high
Said it
level.
for 2 years. I've said it for 2 years. All these idiots on the websites. Oh, it's hey, dude, it's not fantasy basketball.
Yeah, it's
And
not. It's not 2K.
Bradley Beal's never won a goddamn thing in his
No,
life.
he's not. He's one of those guys. I hate to say it. He's just going to be forgotten about once he retires. I mean, he's forgotten
Yeah,
about now.
he's a guy. I tell you, there's no league where you get softer stats than the NBA. It's the softest stat league there is. And again, not criticizing Carmelo Anthony or Alex English, but yeah, you can get me like 24, 25 a game for a couple of seasons. But would you ever win anything? No, because you
He's
could just keep putting up
he's
numbers.
he's such a talented player. But if I asked you, name me a Bradley Beal game, no one would be able to tell you anything.
No,
You know,
no, he's a talented player. But
name me
again,
a,
another guy who's a little bit of a volume
and,
guy.
and I hate to say it, people can name you moments on teams on guys that were role players because they played meaningful games in May and June. That's where it is.
Yeah,
People
and in
could.
the NBA, yeah, and in the NBA, if you're a really good player, the best players, there's no sport where one guy has more of an impact than the NBA. And that's the proof in that is that the best NBA players of all time all have championships. I mean, like, okay, Karl Malone and Barkley are probably the two best with that one, but at the same time, they had reasons for that. They lost to Mike. But the thing is,
But
like
again,
the
though,
best players,
they played in meaningful playoff games.
yeah,
Though
because the one
they had
guy can make all the
playoffs.
difference.
Exactly,
Yeah,
they had playoff success. Sorry, they didn't win a championship, but
So
Again,
yeah,
they had memorable playoff moments though. Charles Barkley shot over David
yeah,
Robinson in Game
yeah.
7 of I think it was '94. I think there. So you had
Yeah, so if you're Bradley Beal, like you're never on a winning team. You got to
you
ask
should
yourself, am I
take
a part of that?
Bradley Beal is the type of guy take veteran minimum and go somewhere where you could win. Go with LeBron, do something like that. Go to the Grizzlies with John Morant. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
But these guys, who knows what's going through their head? But again,
I think the Grizz could definitely be a problem. They were.
oh, they could absolutely, yeah, yep, they absolutely.
Their record was pretty good early on. They've hit a little bit of the skids, but I think the kid from Kansas is one of the most underrated players in the league. I know he's won Defensive Player of the Year before, but he's a beast. I mean, he's playing these like 6'8". He can play center and he can shoot a three, and he's just a valuable player. He's a stud. You know.
No doubt about it. All right, Uncle Dave, we'll wrap it up there. All right, and we'll have a show tomorrow night. Anyone who's tuning in will have a definitely post when the bracket comes out. We'll definitely be all over that and analyzing that for sure, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll have a little bracketology, and I don't know. Maybe we'll see if we can pop on him. Maybe we can pop on a guest or something.
Oh yeah, because I think we're gonna have to we're gonna go over the matchups. So there's definitely gonna be a show. We're just gonna dedicate the whole show tomorrow night just to the bracket. I think for sure.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I guess the
We'll go
NBA
over that.
tomorrow should be on like national holiday, but they're not smart enough to do that.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, we got to figure out a good time to do it. I mean, I guess it takes like 10 minutes to print one after it comes out, but it's fun. It's I tell you, Thursday and Friday, it's Americana, man. That's why this is the best tournament there is. I mean, college football, everybody gets excited, but it's not Americana. The
And
fucking no one gives a shit.
you're gonna be ill on Friday, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be out. I'm feeling this virus coming on right now. I gotta figure out what my lunch plan is.
I was
Maybe some
thinking of
chickens.
actually taking off Friday as well, and maybe we'll watch the games together.
Yeah, my chicken soup might have to heal me.
Your secret's safe with me.
I don't care. I mean, I got the days, so if I have to use a day, I'll
This
use
is
a
now
day. I don't
what,
really.
25 years you've gotten a virus around this.
Yeah, I think it's like 25th year in a row. So yeah, it just happens every year. So I feel a little,
It's the change of seasons, right? It's coming to
well, it
spring.
is. It's a very moldy time of year. I guess of the rain, the mold spores come out, and I really, it just I don't know. I could feel it coming in. It started in the back of my throat, like on March 1st. I could feel it coming.
And what was the other thing too, Uncle Dave? Vasectomies. It's the most popular time for vasectomies.
Yes, it is. The Wednesday is the most popular vasectomy day, so the men could sit around and watch the tournament. This is a true fact. Look it up. Vasectomy day. I mean, I'm not
You're
going
never
down
going to
that
get,
route.
you are not going to get that on any other basketball show, folks. I will tell you that right now.
True. It's the number one day for vasectomies. Look it up. I heard that stat several years ago, and it makes sense. That way, nobody can be bitched at while they're watching the NCAA tournament. And I tell you, it's a piece of Americana. On Monday morning, everybody's got a bracket. Some people are going by school colors. Some people are going by nicknames. Some people don't go by
But
anything.
everybody's in it though, no doubt.
And everybody's in it. And this is the time of year when I get all these people reaching out to me, and I always say, "Listen, how much of a piece am I getting for my advice?"
No, it's
So
absolutely it's a bonding moment for the country. It's really a
it
time to
is.
come together.
Everything comes at a cost. So
Now, the last
it's
question, Uncle Dave, when and where did you get that Duke hat? That is fantastic right there.
well, it's a Duke head. It's a Duke head. I was a little nervous. It's
That looks
actually
well made right there. That looks
it is.
incredible.
It's a solid piece of rubber. It was actually given to me, but
Oh,
it's got
what a gift
Gordon's
that
name in it.
is.
It's got Gordon's name in it, but it was really given to me. And I couldn't find it before, but I was realized it's probably in Gordon's room. It says Gordon on it, but I thought it was a gift to me. But I got a Viking one. I don't have a Viking head. I have a Viking like big Viking hat. I have a Viking I got a Viking gnome. I have all that crap. But
Yeah, the gnome was a gift for me. Yep,
This is my Duke head.
it's
I
fantastic.
also have my Duke. I have Duke sneakers too. Those are down in the basement. I have the Duke sneakers. They're awesome. They're beautiful things. Got those for like 20 plus years. Yeah, this is a well-made hat. Hey, I don't hide it. I root for Duke. I root for Virginia. I root for Rutgers, and I root for Stony Brook. Those are my
Your
four
blood.
favorites.
Yeah, yeah. I
And,
guess I said you have a lot of blood transfusions.
those are my four favorite D1s there. Stony Brook, because I worked there, and my son worked there. Rutgers, because those are the best guys on the planet. Virginia, because my son works there, and obviously Duke, because I've been a Duke fan since your mom went there in '81. So
It's good
it's
stuff right there.
bleed blue. It's you know what? It's Duke. They were bad years those first couple of years, so I've been through it. So I didn't jump on the bandwagon. Go look up 1981. Yeah, there was some tough years there. They tried to hang coach in effigy. So yeah, I don't want to hear about bandwagon jumping. I've been a Duke fan since then. I remember when they couldn't get over the Carolina hump. That's why when they smacked Carolina, it is just such a pleasurable thing for me. It's like Christmas.
Oh, it's always Christmas when they beat North
Oh,
Carolina.
just can't stand Carolina.
3-0 this year against Carolina was truly blissful.
Just a smack,
Belt to
a,
ass.
sm a smacky smack. I had this good picture. It was a good one. I saw it. It said the ACC finals, dress code, no heels.
Ah, that's good. That's good.
Saw
I
that one. I
remember
was like, this is,
I had a shirt. It had like an infant on the back with its picture. It's a I dream of a world where there are no Tar Heels. So it was great.
yeah, yeah, I respect the hell out of him. I just don't like him.
Oh yeah, it's a
But then again,
respectful rivalry.
I didn't love Larry Bird when he was playing either because I'm a Magic Johnson fan, but I respect the hell out of him.
Absolutely.
I think he's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. And I still think Dean Smith's probably the best offensive coach I've ever seen as far as, the guy's team shot over 50%, I think, for 20 years straight. So obviously the design is pretty good and the players obviously too. But always, thought he was an exceptional coach, obviously very creative, one of the best coaches of all time. Only won 2 titles though, and he should have won more. So I have to hold that against him. Sorry, Coach K's got 5.
And I hate to say
So
it, the Georgetown one and the Michigan one, there's flubs on both ends of the other team.
oh
Mental
God, they had that. I tell
mistakes.
you,
I mean,
I've
you
always
could have
said
zero.
he had to get handed it to him. He had to have it handed to him twice.
Yeah, so I mean, you Carolina fans out there, I know it was
Yeah, he's got to have
I
Scott.
can't
He's got
take
to
it
put
away
Scott.
from you, but my God,
Yep. For him, it was always about the system.
Chris Webber travels, all right, and walks, all right.
Yeah.
Situation
For
there.
him, it was always about the system, and he had to have Scott Cherry in the game with 5 minutes left in the NCAA final because it's about the
Dean
system.
Smith will get into this post when basketball season's over. He's coach, I think, that overcoached, I think, in my eyes. I think he was one
Well,
of those.
that was always the rap. The rap was the system was more important than the feel of the game, and that's coming from Pete Newell and John Wooden. That's what Pete Newell was the best big guy coach of all time, and John Wooden is the best coach of all time. And they both would criticize that and say that the game has a life to it, not just a system where, like I said, Scott Cherry's in the game with 6 minutes left in the NCAA final. Scott Cherry shouldn't be on the floor at that point. I love Scott Cherry from New Jersey, but he wasn't one of your best 7 or 8 players. What the hell is he doing in the game?
It's a feel for the game. It's a game within the game. You have to have a feel and a sense for those things.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the time for it, but at the same time, just really crazy. But hey, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. He's got more money than I'll ever have, and but that's all right.
Rest in peace, Dean Smith.
Coach K's got 5, and Dean's got 2. That's all I know. 5 to
That's
2.
it.
And I had
That's
fans
it.
who try to tell me, well, two's better than 5. I go, I don't know what crack you're smoking. Must be that liberal math. Five's definitely higher than 2. Schools aren't that bad yet where
I
we
think
got 2 being
it's
higher than 5.
UNC math. Those two championships mean more to you than our five, but I got news for you. Five is more than
Yeah,
two.
they're not.
He said.
They're not. And people always go, oh, chips, chips, chips. Okay, well, if you want to argue that, then yeah, fine. But he's got 5 plus. When Coach K took over, he had nothing. When Dean took over, NC was a champion like 2 years before he got the job. So I don't want
Coach
to hear
K
it.
climbed that hill and won respectfully for
He
sure.
climbed the hill against Dean Smith, who owned the freaking league.
Yes,
That's what makes his climb even more impressive.
no doubt. All right, all you basketball fans out there, live long and prosper. May the force be with you.
Go Blue Devils.